All right. I want to thank the grace of heaven and the virtues of the masters, the grand predecessors and predecessors for this chance to talk about this topic. So you can hear, right? Okay. All right. So, thank you. When we received, okay, so we talk, in this class we talk a lot about, various, principles, or you might say theories of the Tao, right? A lot of it sounds kind of maybe abstract or theoretical, but really the principles are applied in everyday life, right? So, that's what really the objective of Tao is not. I mean, ultimately, yes, it is to achieve what we might consider as being very abstract, nirvana, ultimate parinirvana, which is, seems kind of out of reach, but we can actually achieve in this world, okay? So it's not really achieving, after we leave this world and then become like a Buddha. Being a Buddha is really just like Jigong Living Buddha, right? Why is he called a living Buddha? When he was alive, he was he manifested those principles, the truth, right? And so he was a living Buddha. Well, even Sakyamuni Buddha, he was a living example of a Buddha. I mean, he was already Buddha, achieved Buddhahood while he was alive. All right. So that's something. So basically, now, okay. So this objectives of Tao, right? What we call this the objectives of Tao, or sometimes it's translated as the essence of Tao or the ideals of Tao. It was actually written by our 18th patriarch, matriarch, okay? And so, before that, I guess we didn't have this, this written down. But basically, it's kind of describing what's the purpose of Tao in this world, okay? At least as far as humans applies to us, how we cultivate, excuse me. So it's like a guidebook, okay? A guide or it's the water, isn't it? Yeah. And or you might say like a blueprint for us to follow in this world. So we learn about the Tao, we receive the Tao, we learn about the Tao, and then how do we cultivate, right? How do we practice in this world to achieve these objectives? Ultimately we think, it's not a man-made set of rules. It's really a natural, you can say a natural manifestation, natural outflow of the principles of Tao, all right? And then so from these objectives, basically what we achieve is the ideal of the world of great harmony that was described by Confucius, okay? So that was, Confucius wrote that, and it was in the Book of Rites. Thank you. That's, like 2,500 years ago, or a little bit more, maybe. Yeah. Well, yeah, okay. Between 2,500 and... Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. And then so, back then it was already described as, what would be the ideal world, okay? The ideal society. And so to get from, these objectives of Tao to get to that world of great harmony, that's just describing the end result, really. The end result of how we get there. And Confucius, of course, talks a lot about how we deal with, people, deal with ourselves, people in society. And if we can follow those teachings, then we can achieve that result, okay? And so not only that, you can say it's heaven's will, okay? So Buddha, or Buddha's vow, right? Maitreya Buddha's vow, right? To create this Pure Land, this paradise on earth, or, throughout all the worlds, actually. When you have that, you basically have this powerful force, heaven's will, to want to create this thing, achieve this objectives then there's no stopping it. Okay, so the only question is whether we want to be a part of that. Right, we want to be a part of that, achieving that goal, achieving these objectives. All right, so. All right, so eventually, so these objectives of Tao, then it leads to the world of great harmony. Okay, so it's essentially the function and the result. All right. Okay, so the objectives of Tao. So we're just going to go through one by one what the objectives of the Tao are as written by our 18th patriarch and matriarch. So the first is we respect heaven and earth. Right, we respect heaven and earth. Now, it doesn't mean we worship heaven and earth. The ancient peoples, before, of course, that was before religion, okay, before they had any kind of really what we think of as religion, but we tend to think of them as saying, oh, they're worshiping the sun, the moon, the stars, right? But it's actually, they were very close to nature, right? Because they lived within nature. They don't have technology, nothing like that. So nature was a big part of their everyday life. And so, the sun, obviously, rising every day. You have the daily cycle, plus the lunar cycles, right? Every month, and then also the stars. They all provide light for everyone. So obviously. We are actually beings of light, okay, originally. So the light is very important. So that's why, in the night sky, you see those points of light, right? So those are the things that they look up to. And so basically worship, and the sun, obviously, without the sun, the daily, cycle with the sun, no one likes a rainy day. No one likes overcast days, right? They all want to see the sun, and so that's why the sun becomes very important in everyday life. So the moon as well, right? At nighttime you see there's no sun, so you see the moon, also the stars providing light. Today, of course, we have all this light pollution, so we don't see anything. But the ancient times, the sky must have been pretty amazing at night, right? You can see the Milky Way, you can see all those stars. Of course, they say today that a lot of those stars they each represent like saints or saints and Buddhas, whatever. And so today we see fewer of them because they're all incarnate into this world, right? They're all here to help achieve that goal, the ultimate world of great harmony. All right. Okay, so. Obviously, without the sky and above and the ground below, we could not exist, right? Because we have this physical being, right? We have a physical body. We need to stand on a firm ground, right? The earth. And of course, the sky, the air anyways, that we need to breathe, and the sky above us, right? To protect us from the solar radiation and all sorts of things. So obviously, we could not exist outside of this environment, right? So even though today, we can go explore the stars, maybe travel to different planets, but without an atmosphere, we can't really survive, all right? So, but what we take away from this is to learn from nature. So we learn that, wow, the heavens has given us everything, okay? And so, it's indescribable. And then the earth is like our, you can say it's like our mother, is kind of nurtures us and provides for us, provides everything that we need to survive, okay? So obviously we can grow plants, we can grow food, we can, build shelter, do everything. That the earth all provides that to us. So that's why, we respect the earth. So, today, you can say environmentalism, the taking care of our environment, taking care of our planet, that's important. I mean, if we destroy our environment, we're just, dooming ourselves to if we're polluting things, then, we're not going to be able to eat the food that we grow. Okay, so all this comes together. So we are all born of heaven. In other words, our soul, you can say our soul, our spirit, our Buddha nature comes from, you can say it's part of heaven. And that's where it comes from. And so that's our, you can say that's our spiritual self, is from there. And so, of course, that we need to remember that's where we come from. It's not this home that we live in today on this planet is a temporary thing, okay? So it's not permanent. We shouldn't, we're not going to stay here forever. If we stay here forever, it's basically we're in the cycle of life and death and reincarnation, okay? So that's, and as Buddha said, that's it's all caused by our own desires and attachments, and it creates all sorts of suffering. So remember that we originally come from this indescribable, this heaven, and the absolute, and that's where we should ultimately return to, okay? And then the other thing is, we see, especially today, is as science and technology advances, we think, oh, we can do all sorts of things, right? We can conquer everything, nature even, but we are so small, insignificant compared to the whole of nature, to heaven. And, to think that we can control nature that's just being arrogant and foolish, okay? When the earthquake comes, when the tsunami comes, there's nothing you can do about it, right? So we are very insignificant. So we need to be humble and learn basically to not fight nature, but to live in harmony with it, okay? And of course, live in harmony with each other. All right. So that is kind of the bigger picture, and then so now we want, and how do we, we go about doing that? We follow the ways of the saintly. So all the saints, the sages, the Buddhas of the past, right, or even the present. We want to follow their way because they have found, you can say they found the path to enlightenment. Okay, so they found enlightenment, and they know how to get there. And so, of course, we're all, pursuing all the wrong things, or we're confused in this world, we're lost in this world, we're pursuing all the things that we shouldn't really be pursuing if we want to become enlightened. So therefore we need to learn from them, all right? It doesn't mean that we put the statue up there and we worship them. Oh, wow, look how great, they're so great. Maybe, and we pray and ask that they help us, but really, it's really, if we understand the Tao, it's the ultimate self-help, self-empowerment, because, they're saying that really we are in control of our own lives, okay? Yes, we created a lot of karma in the past lives and in this life, and that will come back to us and in things, in ways that, we don't realize. And so those are the things that we can say that maybe we're not in control of, but we can't change, take control of our destiny, change our destiny, all right? So again, but we have to follow, the only way to do that is to learn from the Buddhas and saints and to follow their teachings, right? Because they found a way to you can say transcend this cycle of suffering and reincarnation. Our heart and mind, right, and original nature is saintly. So originally, really, our Buddha nature, our true nature, is because it comes from heaven, or it comes from that absolute oneness. It's perfect. But because we also live in this phenomenal world, we become influenced by it. Okay, we being in this phenomenal world, we have a human nature. Okay, besides our true nature, there's also the human nature. The human nature is the one that's subject to, we have the senses, right? And then so, basically through the five skandhas, that's basically having the forms, this phenomenal world, the material forms, and then through our senses, right? Sense, feelings, and perception. And also volition, and ultimately, basically you can say consciousness or attachment to those things. And then so therefore but that's really the false self. Okay, that creates what we think of as our personality of who we are, but that's really all false. Okay, it goes through these 5 skandhas, and so that it's important. So that the Heart Sutra talks about we have to get rid of these 5 skandhas, or realize that the 5 skandhas is not really true. It lacks a true self. Okay, true existence. All right. So, anyways, in the Maitreya, True Salvation, True Sutra, right? It says to become a Buddha, diligently worship and maintain our bright wisdom, right? So, again, worship meaning that we learn the way of the Buddhas and saints and sages, all right? So not just placing them above and then say, oh, they're so great, but to follow their way. All right, that's really what they want. They don't want us to really worship them. They want us to learn their way, follow their way. Okay, we need to respect them. All right, respect the Buddhas, the saints. Use a sincere heart, right? Because every single thought, we have to come to realize that our thoughts are very powerful. Okay, don't just think that I just have a random thought. It's insignificant, but really every single thought can be very powerful, all right, if we are sincere, all right. So it says, heaven knows and requites every sincere benevolent thought, right? So that's another, you can say there's a principle called reciprocity, or it's a response, right? So when we have any kind of sincereness, right, sincerity with the thought, heaven will respond to that sincerity, okay? So, and it's not just heaven, so, same with people. When we're dealing with people, we're very sincere. They respond in kind, all right? So that's very important. So that sincerity is really being one with your true nature, showing that true nature, all right? Okay, so again, the saints and sages, then the Buddhas, they've left down all these scriptures and sutras to kind of guide us. Those are all expedient teachings, okay, to guide us in the right direction. All right. Ultimately, we should use these teachings. They're a tool, okay, but don't become too attached to the tools. All right. So because when we have a tool, when you're using a tool, you use it appropriately. Right, you don't keep using you use a hammer to hammer nails, but then you don't use a hammer to hammer other things. When you need a screwdriver, you don't use a hammer, right? So again, these are just tools. That's why they're called expedient teachings. They're used. You have to use them appropriately in different situations. Okay, but really the principles are all the same. All right, it's just that you can say the principles from the one absolute. Right, the truth, the principle. Once there is an absolute, but in the manifestation, right, when in this world everything is manifested, right, the forms, then it becomes infinite. You can say from that one, you can have infinite variations. Okay, it's the same principle, but applied appropriately in each situation. Right, so it depends on the conditions. So we should not become too attached to an idea of something being very absolute, say, taking a principle and saying, oh, okay, this is absolutely applied absolutely. So in all situations, it is applied the same way. So you can't say that, right? Basically, a principle can be applied in different ways depending on the situation. Right? So that's why all those teachings, Buddha, when he answers, or Confucius, when he answers a question from one of his disciples, different disciples may ask the same question, but Confucius would, for example, he would answer differently depending on whatever their situation is. So that's something that we have to understand, right? Okay. All right. To love all nations and act with loyalty, right? So that's the next thing. So once we take those teachings, so we have to realize that we are we like to differentiate as human beings. We like to differentiate. I identify with I am from this country, or I am of this nationality and this race. because that's part of the human, I guess the ego, the human, the human nature that we like to be, we have to have an identity, okay? But all nations, we have to love all nations. So it doesn't mean that necessarily agree with all the the laws or the the policies of these countries, but we love all people, okay? We are all earthlings, okay? We are not, we make an artificial distinction saying, oh, I am from this country, and then those people are from a different country, and we're at war, and so it's the people are at war. It's really not the people that are at war. I mean, it's the governments, the authorities really are the ones who are initiating the fight, right? And so, we don't have to agree with that. But the nations, we love all the people. Okay, so but we still need to be loyal to our country. So we are a citizen, even though we're all earthlings. We are a citizen of one particular country, right? So being that we are a citizen of this country, we have to uphold the laws of this country, right? So that's just a fact of life, and we have to follow that. Of course, if we don't agree with a lot of the things, then we can probably the only thing we can do is either try to change the laws or we go somewhere else, right? But okay, so loyalty makes sages, right? With loyalty, there cannot be two masters. Again, yeah, it's hard to be loyal to multiple masters, or in this case, like let's say multiple countries, right? Especially when there is conflict between the two countries, then who are you loyal to, right? So you can't. Of course, we want to get. Ideally, we go beyond that, right? We don't say, "Oh, I'll pick and choose." I pick, one side over the other. We follow our conscience. We have to follow our conscience. What's right. Not based on their policies, but what is best for humanity, you can say. All right. Plus, okay, so that's kind of in this world now, and we also need to be loyal to our, you can say, our heavenly duties. Okay, our responsibilities, are whether they be in family or at work or anything. All right. So, again, loyalty is something that, I don't know, today, if people are pursuing wealth, usually there's no loyalty, right? They'll just seek, oh, I'm going to get the highest paying job. It doesn't matter, right? So I first get this one job, and then, I go look around and say, oh, there's another higher paying job. So I'm going to leave this company and go to the next one. So that's today's society. People are just looking for that. And there's no more sense of loyalty at all to who I'm working for or anything, and so that is loyalty is one of the virtues. Okay, so once we start lacking in these virtues, that becomes a real problem. So you look in society and you see all sorts of problems. It's because people aren't virtuous anymore. They've discarded the virtues. All right. Okay, so of course we need to be honest and sincere and esteem proprieties. Okay. When a person has no more demands or requests, he is of the highest character. Original nature is benevolent and complete. Right. So we usually, we seeking things, external things, and not just that, we seeking from other people. Right. We requesting from other people, demanding of other people. But really, all we need to do is demand of ourselves, okay? Even though we may not get all the things that we want, maybe, again, that there's already a problem there with, what we want, okay? That's desire. We always seeking those things, but, because we have to learn contentment too, all right? But always demand of ourselves first before we can demand of other people or others, That is, we're constantly demanding of others. One thing is that we are dependent on others. We are relying on others for everything. Okay, and ultimately, when we can't get those things, then we don't achieve our goal. Right. So really, we have to stand up on our own 2 feet to be able to, and the way to do that is, to be self-reliant. Okay. Demand of ourselves, that's the way to improve ourselves, to push ourselves, right? If we want to climb the mountain, we don't ask everyone, say, oh, please carry me up the mountain, right? No one's going to, who's going to do that, right? So we have to climb ourselves, okay? Modesty, courtesy, kindness, right? In propriety, there is moral integrity. Propriety is, you can say it's the manifestation of the virtues, manifestation of the true principles. Okay, so obviously modesty, being humble, being courteous. Okay, having polite manners, being kind to everyone. Right. This is a show of one's character, one's moral character. Okay, the door of propriety, path of righteousness. Okay, without propriety, one has no foundation. Esteem propriety. So again, we see a lot. There's a lot of proprieties, a lot of little. You can say etiquettes. All these things are to show, show that we can at least follow the rules and be polite, be kind, be nice. Okay, so that's very important. Okay, it's not just for show though. It's not just for show. So again, this goes back to our sincerity. We sincerely show, that we are kind, that we are humble, that we are, that we show common courtesy. Okay, so again, it's supposed to come from that sincere heart. We're not just going through the motions just because that's the way you do it. All right, so it has to come from the true heart. Okay. Okay. All right, and then filial piety, of course, is one of the important virtues, the most important virtue you can say, because we all have parents, and so how we deal with the parents. And I think is Confucius who said that basically without filial piety we're no better than an animal. Okay, so because showing our gratitude, of course it's not always easy, right? Depending on sometimes you say, oh, our parent is gets angry all the time or has bad habits, things like that, and it's very hard to sometimes deal with, but. We try not. We don't want to create disharmony. We don't want to make them angry. We don't want to do things that make things worse. We always try to be harmonious, no matter what. And of course, we try to encourage them to get rid of their anger and then to not maybe get rid of their bad habits if they have some bad habits. But again, this is where wisdom comes in. We have to use our wisdom in how we deal with every situation, right? We observe the proprieties in life and death. Right? Respect parents when we're living happily. We support them. Worry when they're sick. Grieve when they pass away. Strictly observe memorial rites. Confucius, of course, at that time, the rites, right? The various the ceremonies or the rites. Proprieties, those are very important. Today, of course, maybe it becomes more just going through the motions. But in the past, it was very, it's a very sincere show of their heart. Okay, and back then, I think when a parent passed away, that 3 years they're supposed to they don't do anything. They just kind of grieve. Well, not just grieve, but for 3 years they the mourning period of 3 years. And so today, no one does that. But I mean, it's what's more important is actually when they're alive, how we treat them when they're alive. Of course, we don't want to wait until they pass away and then we just mourn and grieve. Okay, but still, we show respect. Whether they're here or they're not here. All right. Okay, so and a filial piety towards God is also to help to propagate the Tao. All right, so not only we have our physical parents in this world, but again, remember we came from that heaven, that absolute. We call God. You can say God, the oneness. Therefore we are all related spiritually. We are all connected, and therefore we need to help everyone. To be filial to God then is basically when we go home, if we're able to return home to our spiritual home in heaven, then we also need to bring as many of our family and relatives and friends as we can with us, okay? Because we all belong there. And so even though, they may not realize it, or they may not agree, or they may not believe, we do our best to try to let them realize that, that's where they come from as well, and that we're all brothers and sisters, you can say, okay? But ultimately, we show, we can influence them the best through example, right? So not just through talking. Through talking, that's one thing, but we have to show it. So that's why the cultivation, the practice is very important. When we show our sincerity, we show, we follow the principles in our everyday life, in our actions, in our speech, right? Then other people can see that, and they, the way they experience us, they say, oh, being with us, it's like, it's so wonderful. Then they're more likely inclined to be able to listen to us and follow us, all right? Okay, so we also need to uphold our teachers, okay? Of course, the teachers, you have ordinary, regular teachers in school, and also, spiritual guides and teachers, because they're the ones who help us. Of course, the regular teachers in school, they give us a lot of knowledge. That's important in everyday life and how, okay? But more importantly, the enlightened master can teach us more to how to transcend all this, the suffering in life, okay? So that's important that we respect them and uphold them. And so teachers, they don't, maybe today, in today's society, they don't get as much respect as they should get, all right? And, if the students respected the teachers, you wouldn't have all sorts of problems that we see today. And, the enlightened master, of course, is very, it's very special, okay? It's difficult to encounter, right? Through the mercy of the 18th Patriarch, Matriarch, we have a new lease on life, right? We must respect their teachings, follow their example, understand their hearts, help fulfill their mission, right? Through their, sacrifices, they sacrificed a lot to carry out this mission to try to save all sentient beings, okay, all people. And so without the enlightened master, we cannot transcend this cycle of life and death. Okay, so that's a lot. So that's like at a much higher level than your ordinary teacher. And so we need to respect them, okay, and do our best to understand their teachings and then follow the teachings. All right. Ultimately, if we are very grateful, we can appreciate what they've done for us and what they've given us, then we should also help carry on the mission that they started, okay? So our patriarchs and matriarchs are no longer here. Even our grand predecessor is not here. Our predecessor is not here. But all we have are the transmitting masters and other senior cultivators. But the enlightening master, 18th patriarch, matriarchs, they're always with us, okay, in spirit. All right, so as long as we are trying to help fulfill this mission, then they will always be helping us. All right, so that's it. All right. Okay, so trust our friends. All right, so in society, of course, we have friends, and so trust is very important. You can say it's a virtue, right? It's a trust to trust and to be trustworthy, right? So again, that's the basic foundation of friendship, right? You can trust someone. And so basically we want to also, of course, again, we have to use our wisdom in making friends. We don't want to just make any kind of friends with bad friends, right? Especially, when, kids, right? They can make some bad friends, and even adults, we can end up making bad friends. As adults, we're a little bit more smarter. We might be able to distinguish, but if we let maybe our emotions, our passions get in the way, then maybe we'd be confused and we won't see what's really that person's true character. So again, these are things that we have to be conscious of. But basically, we can always learn from our other people. Okay, being humble. If we're modest and humble, we can always learn from anyone, even a child. Can learn from a child because they're very kind of pure and natural and innocent, and so we can learn from that. They don't discriminate. They don't argue over a lot of things. So that's the things but we can always learn from other people, no matter what. So the Buddhists always say, look at the good side, look at what's the other person's, what can we learn, what good can we learn from them? Even though we see a person and we tend to focus on their faults, focus on their, the bad temper, the bad side of things, we need to look at the good side. Those are the things that can help us improve ourselves, okay, elevate ourselves. All right, so again, use our wisdom to make the appropriate friends, and those who are basically upright or honest, right, sincere, trustworthy, and of course, well-educated. It doesn't mean, it doesn't mean that we should always seek those who are know more than we do, okay? Because what's more important is not that kind of mundane knowledge, but wisdom, really. If they have wisdom and they have virtue, that's more important, having those type of people around us who can help us kind of go on this path of cultivation. Okay. We all live, unless you live in the cave, right, or live like one of those survivalists out in the mountain somewhere in the wilderness by yourself, right? We all have neighbors, okay? So when we have neighbors, we should definitely be harmonious with the neighbors. Try to do our best to be friendly and kind with them, because actually, again, through reciprocity, they'll help us. So basically, we end up helping each other. And so, there's the saying that says that close neighbor is better than a relative who is far away, right? So we have relatives who are, you can say they're closer to us, right? Blood relatives, they're a lot closer to us. But if they are far away, right, distance-wise, then physically, they're not as, it's not as useful, I guess you can say, not as helpful than having someone who's nearby, like a neighbor, right? So, right, there's like these neighborhood watch things, right? So like, when we leave home, right, they can keep an eye out on our house, right? Things like that. Or, sometimes you go over to your neighbor and you want to borrow something, right? All these things. So definitely that kind of harmony. We can be, harmonious with each other. Okay. And so obviously it's good to have, benevolent and kind and nice neighbors, right? So obviously we don't want to move to a place that has, it's in a bad area with bad, drug dealing and all sorts of crime going on. So obviously we avoid those places. All right, because we don't want to, but, a lot of things, again, karma plays a role in where we end up, and, a lot of things in life is determined by our past karma. Of course, so how do we overcome that? We need to, again, do the good things, do the good deeds, be more kind and be, content, more accepting of things that happen, and then that's the way to change that karmic fate, okay? So again, neighbors, we'll be able to look after each other. But, today, of course, with, I don't know, the social media, you think your neighborhood has increased, but they're still farther away, okay? But, there are cases of people on social media, they saw something, a crime happening on, when it was, on someone's, video feed, and they were able to help out, even though they're far away. They called the cops, and so that can be helpful. But again, there's nothing as good as being close, physically in proximity. All right. Okay. So we want to, one of the goals is to transform evil into good. Right. So when we see evil, when we see a wrongdoing, injustice, we want to try to correct that. Of course, not just for ourselves, that's something that we have to be aware of for ourselves too, but to transform our own evil into good, that we all have maybe little, to varying degrees, things that are bad temper or bad habits, right? Those are the things that we need to correct in ourselves, but then also to help others. When we see something that shouldn't be, right? We see an evil thing that we want to try to correct that, make it better. Okay, right? So our faults and sins are accumulated from bad habits. So if we have some bad habits, then we do need to realize that that is going to be the cause of further faults and sins and karma. So we need to learn to try to break those habits. Okay, we don't want to overlook the significance of the smallest bit of good. Okay, so even very little things like just a smile or just saying a good word to someone, especially when they need it. And sometimes you don't know if someone needs it, just walking by or because they may not say it or show it. So being kind, being merciful, saying good things, those can help uplift other people's spirits as well. And so that's always a good thing. So don't think that, it's just a little thing, that's no, I don't need to do it. Every little bit is good. Okay, but we should also don't underestimate the significance of every little bad thing. Okay, so because the little bad thing can also have a very significant impact, a negative impact on others. Okay, or even on ourselves too. Okay, so we shouldn't be afraid to change ourselves. I mean, especially we think of, this is who I am, right? I'm lazy. I like to do these things. We have to change ourselves to those are the things. That's a false sense of self. Those are false. Those attachments to, it's really not the true you. Okay, it's not the true self. So those are the things that we need to let go of, right? So correct our mistakes quickly. Mistakes that go uncorrected become faults, right? So so we want to, again, once it becomes, if we don't realize something that we're doing is wrong, then we keep doing it. It becomes more of a habit, and it becomes difficult to. So we have to, if we're not aware ourselves, then we need to listen to feedback or listen to, criticism or suggestions from others when they see it, right? It's easier for us to see other people's faults. So when other people see our faults, we need to listen, all right? Okay, so 3 ways to correct mistake, right? Have a sense of shame to temper oneself, right? When we do something wrong, and someone points it out to us, we don't get all defensive, right? If we get all defensive, then there's no sense of shame or no sense of guilt. We think we're right, but we really, that's only from maybe our own limited perspective. And so we don't see the big picture. We don't see from the other person's perspective that we're doing something that's not good. Okay, so again, having the sense of shame, guilt is one of the 8 virtues. All right, so we should not lose that. All right, we should realize that if we did do something wrong, we should be shameful. All right, have a sense of fear. Okay, fear that when we do something wrong, we create karma. We do, we don't know what kind of ultimate effect or consequence that will create, right? It could be a chain reaction, okay? So we think it's a little thing, but it may start a chain reaction, snowball and get out of hand, okay? So again, we have to have a sense of fear that we do anything wrong, okay? So we have to be very, very careful. And then finally, we have to have that courage to change ourselves. I know it's a lot easier to stick with what we know and what we are, how we are, but it really takes a lot of courage to overcome these attachments to what we think of ourselves and to be able to change ourselves. Right? It's always easier to want to change other people, but we think it's easier, but we can't change other people. Okay, the only thing we can change is ourselves. And so that's important. We have to transform ourselves. So make sure that we are on the right path, that we transform any kind of evil that we may have, any kind of bad that we may have into what is good. Only then people will see that, and that will help them help us transform them too. Okay, so again, it starts with the self, that we have to be a good example, be a role model, right? Okay. To elucidate and understand the 5 relationships, and so again, this is from Confucius, right? So again, why did in the Tao talks about the Confucius' teachings? Because that is how we can achieve that world of great harmony. Okay, it's through our human relationships, how we deal with other people, how we deal with ourselves and other people. All right, so we're all born into one of those 5 relationships at least. Okay, and throughout life, we'll be in various of those 5 relationships, right? So that's between parents and children, and also between like a leader, follower, that type of situation, or husband and wife. We have siblings, or actually that's more among our peers as well. Okay, and then also we have friends. Okay, so those are the 5 relationships. So know how to deal with those various situations in those relationships. And then the 8 virtues, of course, is the filial piety, brotherhood, loyalty, faith, and trust. Okay, and then the 4 pillars are part of that, which is propriety, righteousness, integrity, and sense of shame. Right? Okay, so and then the 5 constants are, okay, we mentioned sincerity is the most important. It is the most important. This is, how Confucius talks about it, right? Sincerity is basically manifesting, showing your true self, your true nature, that Buddha inside, okay, the true heart. And so when you can manifest that, use your sincerity in all the other ones, your wisdom, your benevolence, your propriety and righteousness, then you can do basically what you do. You're like, the superior person, or like the Buddha, okay. All right, so let's see. All right, so we want to spread the profound truth of the saints and of the 5 major religions. Okay, so ultimately they all come from the Tao. They are all talking about the Tao, but because of the conditions, the situations that they were in, so they talk about it different ways. Those are, again, expedient means, expedient teachings, okay? So they were appropriate for their time and their place and those people. And so they cannot be taken as absolutes, okay? So we have to understand that. And so, the various teachings, right? Taoism talks about the motiveless action, Confucianism about humanity and reciprocity, Buddhism talks about compassion, Christianity talks about brotherhood, Islam talks about purity and righteousness. Those are all different aspects of the Tao, of the true principles, okay? So, and they give, they emphasize these various aspects, but they're all talking about the same thing, okay? It's just that over time, people emphasize more on the actual words, and that's where you see differences, all right? So we have to get to the essence, all right? Okay, so we want to purify the heart, wash away our anxieties. Okay, utilize the false forms to cultivate the true self, restore ourselves to the natural state of the original self. Right, the prior heaven. That's where we come from. What we call prior. I don't know if there's a better way to translate that, but prior heaven That's where we come from. That has no form. And we come into this world, which is the the post-heaven? I don't know what.
Pre-heaven, post-heaven.
Pre-heaven, post-heaven, okay. But anyways, in this world, so everything's things have changed in this world because we're in this world of phenomena, okay? So, but, we use that water, what we say, this water or this wisdom water to wash away the pollution that we picked up in this world, okay? Because we picked up a lot of pollution through our senses, through attachments and desires of these forms, okay? We also have those human emotions, right? Delight, anger, sorrow, fear, love, hate, desire, okay? Those are the things and then that cause, basically, we become attached to these material things. And so that's all in this post-heaven world. So if we want to go back to the prior heaven, where we came from, then we need to let go of these things, okay? Don't become attached to them. If we become attached to them, then we create karma, which drags us back into this world, all right, of suffering. So that's why we have to study and learn the underlying principles, okay? Why it's true. Why do we want to not, become attached to these things? And so, all of them, all the teachings, they teach us about that, right? Especially from the Buddha and, all right? Self-reflection and introspection, right? We self-reflect, reflect on ourselves. Most people, right, our mind is being dissipated. Our energy is dissipated outside, whether, things that we want outside or whether we like to, kind of influence or control other people, right? That's all putting our mind outside. But we need to bring it back, focus back, right? So rein in our mind, bring it back to, that's the only way to achieve that. We want to achieve that stillness and purity within, okay? That quiet, that tranquility, that equanimity within, okay? So that's what we need to do. So a lot of cultivation, basically, besides all the other things, is self-reflection and introspection. All right. So when we see a fault, when we see someone doing something wrong, we reflect on ourselves, making sure that we don't do that wrong. Okay. Before we start criticizing the person, right? So Jesus does say, right? We see a speck of sand in someone's eye, but we don't see the log in our own eye, right? So the same thing. Basically, we need to self-reflect and see that if we did not commit a sin, only if we are completely without faults, without karma, without sins, then maybe we have the right to say something to someone. But otherwise, we need to self-reflect. Okay, so the human essence so this is actually from Lao Tzu's Purity and Stillness Classic, right? Human essence prefers purity, mind is... All right, no, I'm going to skip this, okay? I don't have time here. Okay, so manifest our highest benevolence, establish ourselves, help others establish themselves, help achieve ourselves, and then help others to achieve, okay? So, again, that's what we're saying, that we need to, transform ourselves first, but, at the same time, it doesn't mean that we have to be perfect before we can help others, okay? So as we're learning to help ourselves, to transform ourselves, we can also spread those and help others, to spread those teachings and to help other people try to transform as well, okay? All right, so yeah, we are capable of doing the utmost good, so that's really our duty to try to do that, okay? Let's see, this is a repeat here, okay. Okay, so ultimately we want to bring peacefulness into the world, transform people's hearts into good, and bring about the world of unity and harmony, right? So always maintain a positive attitude and outlook, right? We go against the tide, don't follow the norm of what's going, what society is necessarily doing. It may not be the right thing, okay? So we have to have the wisdom to go against what the mainstream is if it's not the correct way. All right, and then be, again, a role model, shine that light to guide other people. So the end result of doing all this, is to bring about peace and harmony to the world, right? So nations without borders, societies without discrimination. And that's really what, the ideal, what Confucius said in the world of great harmony, right? When the perfect order prevails, the world is like a home shared by all. Virtuous and worthy men are elected to public office, and capable men hold posts of gainful employment in society. Peace and trust among all men are the maxims of living. All men love and respect their parents and children as well as the parents and children of others. Right? The aged are cared for. Adults have employment. The young are well-nourished and educated, and widowers, the handicapped, and those who find themselves alone are all cared for. Every man and woman has an appropriate duty to perform within family and society. A sense of sharing displaces the effects of selfishness and materialism. A devotion to public duty leaves no room for idleness. Intrigues and conniving for ill-gotten gains are unknown. Villains such as thieves and robbers do not exist. The door to every home need never be locked by day or night. These are the characteristics of an ideal world, the Commonwealth states. So we are very far from this ideal, okay, today, with all, because why? Because people aren't cultivating. They're pursuing all the wrong things, pursuing the material things, and then that just increases their desires for more, and then they're discarding their virtues, so they'll do anything to get what they want, and so you have crime, all sorts of things happening, and so that is not the society that will last, okay? That will self-destruct. And so the Tao is here to guide us in the you can say it's the opposite direction, in the right direction. That one day this world, this ideal world, will be achieved. Hopefully, it'd be nice to see it in our lifetimes. I don't know if we'll see it in our lifetimes, but there are also these calamities. People who don't change their ways. The calamities are there. The calamities will come, and people. You can say the evil will be washed away, and so in the end, though, after all the calamities in this white era, right? The end, only those people who are left will be these cultivators. Okay, and that is the only way, really, to establish that paradise that on earth. Okay. But we still, right now, we're kind of like planting the seeds, trying to work our way towards that. All right. So, but we can still create, maybe not a world of great harmony, but within our family, we can create that harmony, right? That harmonious world within family, within our circle of people that we know. Okay. We start there. We start small, right? It's kind of the grassroots. We can't achieve the big goal all at once. We start, every individual person starts with themselves and the people around them, right? So that is the ultimate goal that we need to achieve, right? And so with Buddha's help, we can achieve it. The more, so that's why we need to spread the Tao, spread the teachings, make sure that, people understand this, that this is really the purpose of Tao. I mean, yes, ultimately the purpose, what Buddha talks about is achieving nirvana, enlightenment, but to get there we should go through this process, right, to achieve this harmonious world. Okay. And so, so the objectives of Tao is heaven's blueprint to give us the proper direction to follow, right? So if we can follow this guide or this blueprint, then the result will be that world of great harmony. Maitreya's vow, Buddha's vow, is to create this pure land on earth. So basically, there is the heaven's will, the Buddha's will. They are all behind us. Okay, so the Tao naturally conforms to this destiny using mostly the Confucian ethics. Okay, the Confucius teachings. The Tao is not just about the principles; it's about the practice. So with this objective in mind, plus the current conditions. The conditions can be external conditions and also our internal conditions, right, within our heart and mind. We have to understand it and be a willing participant. Then we can create that world of great harmony. Okay, so Confucius, yeah. So what heaven confers is called the nature, right? According to nature is called the way or the Tao. Cultivating this way is called the practice. Okay, so again, it is through this understanding and practicing of these teachings that we can achieve that final result, the final ideal goal. Okay, and I thank you. If I have said anything wrong, I ask the Buddhists for forgiveness and your corrections.